You see Kim Fox to the right. You see Superintendent. And we begin now. Let's take a listen in.
Set. Good morning. Superintendent Larry Snelling. This morning, we're here to address a tragic incident that took the life of an 11-year-old child and a mother who was brutally attacked in an incident that should have never happened. Before I get into some of the details of what occurred, I'd like to introduce some of the members who are standing here with me today. I'd like to introduce Chief of Detectives Antoinette Ursitti, Deputy Chief of Detectives Kevin Bruno, Area 3 Detective Commander Rodney Hill, the 20th District Commander Jimmy Baer. We have Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox, who is standing here with us. I'd like to thank her for her presence. And 40th Ward Alderman Andre Vasquez, and thank you for being here. And thank you for standing with us on this day where we have to report out something tragic. We're here to announce first-degree charges against the violent offender who fatally stabbed an 11-year-old boy and critically injured the boy's 33-year-old mother. Let me start by saying this is something that should have never happened. This offender, who I will not dignify by naming, was just paroled from prison the day before he brutally attacked this family. He's a convicted felon with multiple felonies in his background. He was out on parole while still serving a 16-year sentence for home invasion where he caused injury. This was the second time being released on parole. When he was first released on parole, he violated the order of protection against him and was taken back into custody by the Department of Corrections. He has 3 orders of protection violations against him. Again, this is something that should not have happened. The day after he was released, he entered the home of the family and took the life of an innocent 11-year-old boy. The boy's mother was stabbed multiple times, and she had an order of protection against this offender. Her 5-year-old son was also present and witnessed this attack. We have to imagine what that 5-year-old is going to have to deal with the rest of his life after witnessing something so brutal. When we talk about trauma, just imagine the level of trauma that this 5-year-old is suffering through. This mom's life is now forever changed. Along with being brutally attacked, stabbed multiple times, dealing with that trauma, she has to face the fact that she will never see, touch, hug her 11-year-old son. She's lost him forever. We will continue to show support for this family, because as a department, we want to make sure that we reach out. Our officers who arrive on the scene witness this level of brutality, so we have a clear understanding of what it looks like and what these families and victims are going through. And I've said it before, I'll say it a million times again. We have to continue to support our victims. We have to have a focus on the victims. When I think about some of the things that have happened, I ask the question, where's the outrage? There are a lot of things that people have shown outrage for in this city, but an 11-year-old boy lost his life brutally. A woman stabbed brutally in a domestic attack. Where is the outrage for this family? Let's focus on the victims. First thing I'd like to do is thank Area 3 for the hard work and quick action that they took in getting charges approved for this offender. I'd like to thank every member of the Chicago Police Department who were a part of working to quickly apprehend this offender so that he could not offend again. I cannot say enough about how hard our department members, our police officers, our detectives are working to bring a level of justice, if we can call it that, to families who have been victims of brutal attacks. And I'd like to say thank you to each and every member of the department who was involved in this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this over to Chief Ursitti, who is going to give you some details about what occurred. From that point, you'll get to hear from State's Attorney Fox and Alderman Vasquez. So, Chief.
Good afternoon. Antoinette Ursitti, Chief, Bureau of Detectives. I want to reiterate what Superintendent Snelling just said. It is important right now that we focus on supporting the survivors of this attack and all those affected by this tragedy. Our deepest condolences are with them. The 37-year-old male offender has been charged with 1 felony count of first-degree murder, 1 felony count of attempted first-degree murder, 3 felony counts of home invasion with a dangerous weapon, 1 felony count of armed robbery with a dangerous weapon, 1 felony count of aggravated domestic battery, 1 felony count of unlawful use of a weapon by a felon, 1 felony count of violation of an order, prior violation of order of protection, and 1 issuance of a warrant for parole violation. Investigations like this are never easy, especially when they involve children. Immediately upon learning of this incident, Area 3 detectives responded and began collecting evidence and witness statements. During the investigation, detectives learned the 33-year-old female victim was in a prior relationship with this offender more than 15 years ago. This offender has a history of domestic abuse, and as the superintendent mentioned, is a convicted felon who has had previous order of protection violation convictions. The offender was serving a 16-year sentence for home invasion and aggravated assault when he was paroled and placed on electronic monitoring this past October. While he was on parole, he threatened the female victim via text and also showed up at her home. He was sent back to prison in February for this parole violation. The offender was released on parole on March 12th. The day after he was released, he returned to the victim's home where he attacked her and fatally stabbed her 11-year-old son. Her 5-year-old son was also inside the residence, but was not injured. Video evidence shows the offender running from the scene with the knife used in the incident, which was later recovered, as well as other belongings. Several individuals were able to provide important information that led to the identification of this offender, who was taken into custody hours after the stabbing. I want to acknowledge the Area 3 detectives who spent the past 2 days investigating and securing charges in this case. I also want to thank every officer who responded to the scene and everyone who assisted in this case. This was a coordinated effort that included detectives, 20th District personnel, the Area 3 Area Technology Center, evidence technicians, the Area 3 Homicide Investigative Support Team, and the U.S. Marshals Great Lakes Regional Fugitive Task Force. Together, these men and women brought swift closure to a brutal crime of violence against a mother and her son. I'd now like to introduce Cook County State's Attorney, Kim Fox.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us here today. I stand here with Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling, Chief of Detectives Antoinette Ursitti, and Alderman Andre Vasquez, united in our sorrow and our resolve following a tragic event that has deeply affected our community. As you have heard, we are here to announce the charges filed in this heartbreaking case involving the murder of an 11-year-old boy and the attempted murder of his mother, a crime that has shocked our city to its core. The charges, if you've already heard, are first-degree murder, attempt first-degree murder, and home invasion. The defendant will appear in first appearance court at 11:30 this morning. The State's Attorney's Office has filed a motion to detain. We believe that he is a threat, as obviously indicated by the horrific nature of this crime, as well as his actions post-parole. This was not just a vicious and violent attack on an 11-year-old boy and his mother. It was an assault on the very fabric of our community, targeting the most vulnerable among us. An innocent child's life was taken as he tried to protect his mother far too soon. And a mother was attacked in what should have been the safest place for her, which was her home. As the superintendent has mentioned, this defendant has a history of domestic violence and had only been recently released from serving a sentence from a prior conviction. The victim had an order of protection against him from previous encounters, and this history paints a disturbing pattern of behavior which emphasizes the importance of the filing of the charges today. I want to express my deepest condolences to the family and the friends of the victim. The unimaginable pain of losing a child, combined with the trauma of this violent act, is destabilizing. We stand with you in your grief, in your quest for justice. I also want to thank, once again, Superintendent Snelling, Chief Rossetti, Alderman Vasquez, the Chicago Police Department, and the Cook County State's Attorney's Office for their collaboration and leadership in getting us to this moment. Their unwavering support and dedication have been crucial. Together, we stand in our commitment to serve and protect our communities. I also want to extend a heartfelt thanks to our dedicated team of prosecutors, investigators, and staff whose tireless efforts have brought us to this point. I want to commend Kim Ward, Jennifer Dillman, and Erica Barnes of our Felony Review Unit for working collaboratively with our partners in law enforcement to bring us to this day. Your commitment to justice in the face of such tragedy is a testament to the strength and the integrity of the good people of the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Our office is committed to vigorously prosecuting this case. We understand the significance of these charges and do not take this responsibility lightly. We will ensure that the legal process is thorough, fair, and just, and that this defendant is held accountable. As we move forward, let us all remember the life lost and the lives forever changed by this act of violence. Our commitment to justice is unwavering, and we'll do everything within our power to see that justice is served. In closing, I ask for the community's support for this family and for the victims. And as the superintendent said, a collective effort among us all to address and prevent such future acts of senseless violence. I am confident that together we can make a difference. With that, I'll turn it over to Andre Vasquez.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. First, I wish we weren't here to have this conversation. What occurred this past week, just 2 blocks from where I live, was an attack not just on a family, but an attack on a whole community. I take some solace on the fact that what we're seeing is a department and a government working together to make sure that there is accountability. And I want to thank Superintendent Snelling, Commander Beyer, all the detectives for all the amazing work, the State's Attorney's Office for making sure this was a priority. As you all have heard, there was a family and a woman and children who were hurt. The young man's name is Jaden. Jaden, in a moment, trying to get to school, right? The door opens up, and he does what anyone would do if you see your family in danger. He tries to defend his mother. He was a victim of this kind of attack. I've lost an older brother to gun violence. My heart right now is in pain for the 5-year-old who had to witness any of this. And so last night, there was a vigil held at the property. What I saw out there was about 80 children, ages 10 to 14 years old, that speak to how popular young Jaden was. He was popular in the school at Pierce Elementary. He was a member of his local dance troupe. And so I think about not just the family, but everyone in the community that's affected. But what we did see was everyone coming together. And so although we know this is one chapter in the story and we want to see accountability and for justice to be served, there's a lot more work to be done to make sure that the family, that staff at the school, that the community all have the support systems they need, that we look as a government to see what more can be done to support victims and some survivors of domestic violence. There are the opportunities for everyone to come together and help each other out, but none of this is going to be easy. None of us are alone. And as we try to mourn together, we know that we're together as we move forward. And so anything that we need to do as a city to help empower the detectives, officers, state's attorney's office to make sure that no incidents like this ever occur, and anyone who ever thinks about this kind of behavior is held to account, we're going to do. It's a tough city to live in some days. I think we all know, and we all look at the news. And I apologize because sometimes I might feel a little jaded and desensitized because of what we see. But this is something that we know if we don't get ahead of domestic violence issues everywhere, there may be other cases. And so I just want to thank everyone here for all the work that you've done and look forward to justice being served. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderman. First of all, let me just mention one thing with everyone standing here. This was an effort by everyone. I'd like to thank State's Attorney Fox and the State's Attorney's Office for working quickly with our detective division to get these charges approved and to bring some justice to the family. I'd like to thank Alderman Vasquez for being here and everybody who is standing here together, because this is the important part of it. We could not have done this without everyone working together. I also have to thank those witnesses who came forward and provided information. All of those things help in these cases. When we work together as a team, we can bring some justice to some of these families who have been victimized. It is important to see us standing here together because this is the only way we're going to get to the bottom of public safety in the city of Chicago. So I'd just like to thank everybody here for working collaboratively on getting.
It's a city that's tough to live in, that from the alderman. It often is, one desensitized by violence, but this one hits home. That is the superintendent, Larry Snelling. He is indignant at the murder of this young boy, the near murder of his mother. Failed by the system. She was supposed to be protected, and it wasn't the police fault. No, it was not, but someone needs to be held to account. A mother begged for an order of protection. She didn't get it, and then nearly lost her life. There are many questions still left to be answered. We will be back.